Hello, everybody, and welcome to the third episode of the Sound Test Podcast. We totally, this is the first time us meeting in a few weeks. It's not, we totally didn't do a recording last week that was completely a failure, and we had to kind of scrap everything. So, how y'all been this last week or so? How have y'all been?
I've been fantastic. I've been living life, pursuing new goals.
Same.
I've been great.
Getting ready to move in like a month and a half.
That is very stressful.
Very, 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 very stressful. But life goes on. Try to make what it do. Just keep on moving.
So today's topic, where there's two main topics. One that's all the new Overwatch 2 news, and second, we're going to kind of look back into our childhood memories and talk about some nostalgic gaming memories we had from things our childhood, franchises, systems, consoles, and all that stuff. So let's get started first with what we've been playing and or listening to since the last time we met. So let's start with Deontay. What you been up to?
Other than the usual suspects as far as playing, I did pop into The Last of Us Part 2 because we got that PS5 up there. So we living a little lavish with that 60 frames per second, and Ellie sitting over there, killing the infected in 60 frames per second. But oh my god, I can play the game for real now.
Must be nice.
I played it for literally like 5 minutes. I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't remember where to go, so I'm just gonna stop right now. But it was very nice to see. I have though been, and it's still currently up on my computer while we're in the middle of this podcast. I'm still playing Persona 4 Golden because I wasn't playing that while I was at work this week.
Wow.
I was just sitting there, it was just there. And so I just so happened to just, press a couple of buttons, click the keys a couple of times, hum the music in class by accident. And then one of the kids asked, what are you humming, Mr. McLean? I'm like, it's it's that new Silk Sonic. Yeah.
That new Silk Sonic.
So the album's not out, but I'm singing Leave the Door Open. So, it's fantastic. So I was playing Persona 4 Golden a little bit. And as far as listening, I follow this orchestra that started putting a lot of their concerts or live streams up on YouTube due to COVID last year, and they had a stream up from last week that they did last Friday of a concert of Olivia Messiaen's piece. I forget the name of it. It's in French. It's kind of 20th century-ish. It was really short and weird, kind of ethereal. But the big highlight was Shostakovich's 10th Symphony. I love that piece of music a lot. It's an extraordinary piece of music. If you ever get a chance to listen to it, it's close to an hour, maybe 50 minutes long, depending on how fast or how slow you play it. But the main takeaway from me listening to it was that the last two movements, Shostakovich himself put his initials in the music as far as notes are concerned.
Nice.
And because of the way music notes are written in German and Russian and French, because sometimes you have you have to deal with solfege, and then standard English, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you're dealing with notes written that way. Germany has a different way of writing their notes. And
so
Russian
they include H in their standard notation.
Yeah, it's weird.
Different. Oh, wow.
And
I gotta look that up.
So what he did is he put the first note is D for Dimitri, M as in me, which was going to be the solfege note me.
So the
So for
second degree.
D, yeah, E. So we D, E, da, da. Um, the last two notes were S for so, I think, and T. So anytime there's that motive would play in the music for the last two movements, that's literally him putting his literal initials in the music, and it's fantastic because he it's either slow, it's really fast, he screams it, he sings it. As long as I've listened to the piece, and I didn't know that information until before I listened to the actual performance because they did like a little explanation on about it, and I was kind of blown away about it.
I wonder
So
how like that process where he was just like, you know what, I'm gonna put my name in here. They'll never forget this.
Why not? I
well,
feel it's one of those why not movements.
no,
I've been doing this for a minute. No, go ahead.
there's a reason for it because he wrote it right after Joseph Stalin's death,
Oh,
and Stalin was a dictator in Soviet Russia during that time period between, was it like World War II or World War one of the world wars. I don't remember. You can fact check me on
I'm
that.
not brushed up on my history.
Right.
Yeah, but Joseph Stalin was a dictator, and he dictated a lot of Shostakovich's early music career, and literally saying you can only write this and this for us, and da 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 da. If we don't like it, your life is on the line, your job is on the
Yikes.
line, your family is on the line. And after his death, it was kind of more so him
He's
feeling
free.
free.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he could literally putting his name in it and screaming his name in the music at the end. Like it's kind of like a jubilant affair, even though it sounds really dark and desolate for like literally half of the piece. But the other two moments were like about love and just him and being free.
Right. You said this was Shostakovich 10?
Yeah, it's a ride. It's a ride. And the second movement of it is like very famous for being one of those just balls to the wall. It's fast. Everybody's playing like loud. I think the softest part is like for like 2 seconds. But the rest of it is just going, and the movement lasts about 3 minutes. Like it's a short. 3-minute movement. It's a 3-minute movement, and all the outer movements are like 20. The first move is like 20 minutes. The second movement is like 3, depending on how fast you play it. The third movement is like about 10, and the last one is about 15. That movement is really short, but isn't an extremely impactful second movement. It flies, and you don't forget about it because you're like, damn. It's like really metal. It's really metal, but it's a good metal. It's not like it's atonal. You don't know what the hell's going on. You just listen and you hear a bunch of different notes and beeps and boops and stuff. No, it's very structured. It's nice to actually listen to. It's something that you could play for, like, if you want to introduce your students to an orchestra. It's one of those pieces you can easily show them and like, all right, so this is what I want y'all to sound like, and you play that for them. It's a fantastic piece of music.
All right, so Max, what you've been playing and or listening to lately?
Playing wise, nothing too out of the ordinary. Excuse me. I took like a 2-week hiatus from Smash just so I can clear my head.
For your own mental health.
Yes, a mental retreat, if I might say. But no, I got back on it. I was playing it earlier today. A lot of the rust was gone. Surprisingly, I was actually doing pretty well. So this shows you that sometimes if you're doing bad at a game, just take a break. Take a break, get back to it, and you will be better than you ever thought you would do. That's really all I've been playing. Nothing too out of the ordinary. I love playing competitive games, playing Apex, playing Overwatch, playing Smash. As for listening to music, I'm back on my Jacob Collier binge.
I forgot you were doing that.
Yes. Oh my goodness, his music. The harmonies in his music are so rich and so different from what you regularly hear on the radio. I just keep going back for more. Few tracks in particular. There's one called I don't. This is one track he called. This called "Once You." He had it played with. I forgot which orchestra played it with him. Whatever. I'm gonna look that up later. But he had a full orchestra playing that with him. Him singing, of course, and it's just a beautiful piece through and through. If you want to feel something while you're listening, go ahead and listen to that. But definitely listening to more of that stuff, trying to listen to all of his stuff. Actually, he's having a world tour for like 2022 that I've already got the VIP tickets to
Oh,
for his
okay.
for his stop in Atlanta. So
Hey.
I'm definitely looking forward to that. That's gonna be good. That's gonna be great.
That's gonna be packed, probably.
Let me tell you. Some of the the shows in 2022. Some of the locations, like on the other side of the planet, are already like fully booked. Fully, like the shows are completely sold out.
I
So
mean,
you got it.
he's an amazing artist, but also just like a lot of people are just stir crazy. A lot of people just want to get back into live music
Going
and
to a live
concerts
concert.
and
Yeah, big
traveling.
facts.
It's very that's why when I would tell y'all like I still would go to my Richmond Symphony concerts when the season was still going. The season's over now, but it was fortunate enough that they would still let people come into the hall with social distancing and stuff in there, and you know it was different. It wasn't ideal. You didn't have the whole orchestra there, and sometimes because of the distances that they were apart from each other,
Hmm.
you would hear more individual things than anything. But
Then
now that everything's opening back up and now live performances are becoming more and more commonplace and stuff like that, probably when you go to that Jay Collier concert,
It's probably gonna
it's
be
gonna
everything's
be
crazy.
gonna sound
like I can have my mask off of my face.
right.
Everyone's nice and vaccinated.
Right.
Um, hopefully, hopefully there's no nonsense like a second strand that puts the world back on lockdown. Let me not even try to speak that into existence, even though I kind of just did. But
You don't need a T virus coming straight out of Red.
exactly, we don't need the dead to start rising from their graves. None of that nonsense.
Well, let's wrap this section up. For me, uh, I Knockout City. I won't say Knockout Arena. Knockout City just came out yesterday of recording, so May 21st. And it's basically a dodgeball. I'll imagine Smash Brothers, but dodgeball, and as a third person like shooter. And so they showed it. They revealed it like a month or two ago, and it was it's published by EA. Very cartoon-ish looking style, but it's actually pretty fun. I played it for about like 2 hours yesterday, and
Like Rocket Arena.
I wanted Rocket Arena to be good. I really did. I paid full price for Rocket Arena too.
Full price. How much did you pay for Knockout City? Knockout Arena City?
So for Knockout City, it came out May 21st. They're doing a promotion. The first 10 days is free for everybody.
Ooh,
So
it's on PlayStation, right?
yeah, it's on all the consoles. And this is a
Okay.
small game. It's like 14 gigs.
It's
but-
probably on Stadia.
But if you have Game Pass, PC or Game Pass Xbox, then it's part of that because of EA Play. So you'll if you have Xbox or Game Pass, you'll just have it regardless. But for everybody, it's just open for 10 days. The first 10 days to jump in. And tutorials real quick. Matchmaking is actually pretty easy. Now, granted, it's the first day, so everybody's trying to play it. But I had no problems getting matches. It was like less than a minute in between matches to actually match up. So I've been having fun with that. If you're watching this video, I put my first impressions of it on the channel. So yeah, please check that out. And another video that I was working on that I recorded recently is hip hop music in 1994. And I basically went through all of the major releases of rap albums from 1994. I'm starting in 1994 because that was the year I was born. And just as a hip hop head, there's just so many ridiculous albums that came out that year. Nas' first album, Illmatic, came out. Big's first album, Ready to Die came out. The Fugees' first album came out.
Really?
Yeah, Outkast's first album came out. Not the Score. The Score was much years later. This was before the Score. That came out that year. The Brat's first album, Functified, that came out this year, and this was the first time hearing it.
I forgot about the Brat.
Right.
And that was her first album, and it's good. It's short. It's literally like 30 minutes, but it's good. What else? Diggable Planets had an album that year. Redman had an album that year. Method Man had an album that year. It's a lot. So I had fun listening through all that. But yeah, I'm going to post that video soon. So check that out. All right.
Cool.
So let's move on to our first topic, which is going to be Overwatch 2 news. So we all play Overwatch. Some more competitively than others. But granted, I think we're all like excited for Overwatch 2 coming out next year. Hopefully,
Maybe.
they didn't give a release date.
Let's be honest, it's going to be whenever they're ready.
They want to get that Blizzard polish, so to speak, which they usually do. Or at least on this end, that's what they like to do. I don't know about Diablo and all the other franchises.
World of Warcraft and all that, yeah.
And Warcraft. Well, yeah, and World of Warcraft, because I remember hearing about that Warcraft Reforged.
Yeah,
mess.
Warcraft 3 got remastered.
Yeah, and that got destroyed.
So, to go through a few... So they had a kind of like a developer roundtable playthrough of some of the new elements for Overwatch 2 this week, and some pretty huge changes that they're having. Jesus,
Bless you.
thank you.
Bless you.
Some pretty huge changes. So probably the biggest one, PvP is changing substantially. It's changing from the traditional 6v6, which is 2 tank, 2 DPS, and 2 support,
That's two.
to 5v5, which is 1 tank, 2 DPS, and 2 support. Yeah, that's a huge change to the meta of the game.
Right. That's good. I mean, I don't see it slowing down at all. Simply because, I mean, Overwatch is a fast-paced game regardless. If anyone plays Paladins, I can tell you, I used to play a ton of Paladins back in the day. But the matches were still extremely fast-paced. Like, regardless of that, 5v5, and a lot of the Paladins maps were bigger than your Overwatch maps too. And everything still managed to be really fast-paced. I don't think it's going to have anything to do with that. I don't think it's going to have anything to do with the pacing at all. Though that whole 1 tank thing,
Yeah,
that's gonna change. That's gonna change a lot. I feel that's gonna change a lot.
The tank thing, and this is coming from like me over the past couple of days, just looking at community reactions, and like I've watched Overwatch streamers like pretty religiously. Like I'm subscribed to like at least like maybe 10 or 12 different streamers across tanks, DPS, and support players. And the tank streamers that have seen it, or everybody that plays tank, they think, especially in the higher upper echelon, where they're kind of killing synergies with tanks. Like, because if you have 1 tank, you don't really have another big body to kind of, have your back. The game will now feel more so you're by yourself. If you go out in the open and you get surrounded by a Lucio, a McCree, and a Genji, because they have mobility and range and they can surround you, and you're Reinhardt and you can't really do anything but have a shield and just turn around. Then
you don't have like you don't have like a diva to help support damage or
right
take the
eat
heat
some
off
of the damage, or you don't have a roadhog to catch somebody out of position with a hook real quick. And a lot of the takes are like you're literally killing the off tank role, and Blizzard's trying to like homogenize these sub
Categories.
yeah subcategories within the role. So like you have main tank and off tank. The main tanks are usually the ones that are in front and are usually the shield tanks. Off
Mhm.
tanks is anything that can kind of anchor the main tank. So
Like
and
hamster.
yeah,
Exactly. High mobility, a little higher damage, stuff like
yeah.
that.
So like Ryan Zarya, that main tank, off tank. Arissa and Hog, main tank, off tank. Or depend. And the Roadhog thing is kind of a debatable process too. So some people consider him a main tank too. Just depend on how you play him. And when you take away that one tank, you know, it's a lot easier to just get around them. Especially it's especially seeing how the maps, the newer maps, the 4 maps that they did show, are designed. There's a lot more natural cover that you have to find because it looks like a lot of like areas are a little bit more spaced out, just a tad bit. Like areas are kind of wide. I don't know if y'all seen the gameplay on that Lucio map where he got his own little club or whatever in Rio,
Rio, yeah.
Rio.
and that like second point or last point or whatever it was, that area was huge, and if you there's cover and there's high ground, but if you're like I think somebody was playing Reinhardt. Reinhardt was getting surrounded every time. Couldn't really play the game that much. I mean, you do have the two supports, and they could, focus on the tank and pocket them, but there are other resources need to go into DPS too. So it's kind of pick and choose your battles. So as far from what tanks and like the higher level tank players have seen from the presentations on Thursday, they are not liking it. Everybody else,
I don't know.
it's kind of a wait and see thing.
So I play Overwatch like very casually. Like I'll play like once or twice a month, and y'all know me. I'm a very flexible player. I'll play tank. I'll play support. I'll play DPS, whatever the case may be. But changing that dynamic in which people can't play tank now, and so I feel like for people who do play tank now, that's added pressure because you can't just like everybody can't play Ryan, everybody can't play Zarya, everybody can't play Roadhog, and I like my mains. I go between Reinhardt and Diva, but every case Diva's just not going to be good. There's some times where I'm like, hey, if somebody else has Ryan, I'm like, cool, I can play Diva. I can annoy the opponent, or I can do X and Y, or like people like to use Hamster a lot, in which they'll have a main tank, and Hamster's only role is to disrupt, just to get in there, be an annoyance, or be a distraction. But when you cut that down to one, I wonder what that's going to do to players who play the Hamster, or play Zarya, or play Roadhog, or play Diva. Like I wonder how that's going to change the meta in terms of team composition, or what people is going to rely on. Because is that going to make certain characters just irrelevant?
They're gonna have to, yeah, because
they're gonna have to make the tanks bust.
they are going to. You remember that patch they had a while ago on Overwatch 1? They were trying to rework a lot of the tanks, Squiddy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're gonna have to do something like that to where those off tanks that really can't specialize in really taking damage, like Hamster.
Actually, they did. They literally snuck in some of those when they experiment with that 1-2-3 patch. Like there was a weird experimental card where they were just testing stuff out, and it was 1 tank, 3 DPS, and 2 supports. But they made the tanks really busted. Like when Roadhog healed himself when he took a breather, it healed everybody around him too.
Oh,
And when Zarya used a bubble, she bubbled everybody, like the entire team in her line of sight,
oh, that's
in front and
broken.
behind.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, like
crazy.
it was stuff like that.
Imagine
And
taking a breath and everyone gets
everybody gets
reinvigorated.
healed around. And you still have two healers. Like it was busted. Um like they've already been showing off like the footage when they first showed the gameplay footage back at BlizzCon online, when they showed like new gameplay and stuff, and they showed Reinhardt. He has 2 fire strikes. He
Which
can
is
cancel his charge
great.
now,
Yes,
and he can steer his charge
way
around
better.
corners and stuff way better.
Yeah.
Long
So
overdue.
they're
Long
compensating
overdue.
for the fact that they're taking away a tank, but they're giving more individual power to the tank because because it is one
God,
less
that
tank.
that just made me think about like, what if Hammond had a freaking shield now,
Oh God, that'd be
like a Rhine style shield?
I mean, he has that personal shield he can use that stacks with the people around him, but like
Does
that
it
would be, I don't know, that'd be kind of busted.
imagine him
Um,
swinging around with a shield on?
Bruh, that's crazy. And like imagine if like the shield, if you had the shield activated, like bonus knockback, so you can launch someone across the freaking map if you got like a real good hit on them.
They said that since the balancing of the game is going to probably be the meat and potatoes of the PvP stuff and not necessarily the PvE, because the PvE is just going to be crazy and broken. You're going to have your characters are going to be crazy and broken regardless.
Mm.
Mhm.
So the
Which is
PvP
good
stuff
fun.
you're trying to set in stone, and plus the game has to Overwatch 1 has to merge into Overwatch 2
Right.
stuff anyway. So eventually we're gonna get all these crazy balance changes. Like they're going to have to change CC. They're going to have to change CC, or the amount of CC in the game in some way. I don't know how you're gonna do it when you can get punched, stunned, uppercutted, frozen. You can get slapped. You can get slowed. You can get trapped. You can get booped. You can get double boop. You can get quadruple boop. Like there's so much forced movement in the game where
You want to put the controller down sometimes.
yeah, like you don't get to do anything, and it's like, well, I guess I'll just go play bumper cars instead because I'm not. I can't. When I'm playing Reinhardt, you're trying to swing on somebody, you can't because they're right in front of you, but you're getting pushed around all over the place, and so they're gonna have to find out a way to nerf and or buff characters in particular ways where if they're gonna have this one tank for these 5v5 matches, if they gotta find a way to just make it so that way it is not absolutely annoying. It's not in the way of the actual gameplay, because nothing, like, that's the thing about Overwatch. The game feels amazing to play. Like there is no other first person shooter. That's why I always play it, just because there is no other first person shooter that feels like that game. Like point blank period. There's no other game that feels the way that Overwatch does. Like when you feel McCree shooting his pistol, like the recoil animation and getting the timing, feeling it's just there's something about that tactile feel of feeling that, all right, he's landing these shots. That feels great. Or the movement speed of Lucio, or when you're dashing all over the place with Tracer or Genji. Nothing feels like that
Yeah,
in a
like
first-person shooter setting.
it feels great. It's like landing a punch with Doomfist is one of
Yeah,
the best
like
feelings in the world.
that.
For me, it's Farah. Like, I just love how she moves in the air. I love like the intricacy you could do with her, to the point where Rocket Arena just felt horrible in comparison. How they did jetpacks, because it's like Farah was just so perfect.
EA's working on Knockout City because they're like, we can't compete with an all-power game. Can't do it. We're not Blizzard. But
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
they want to try to find it. Like the devs said it themselves, they want to try to find a way to balance the game so that way it's not overbearing for the tanks, but every character still has its own identity. and they still do what they're supposed to do,
Mm-hmm.
and not completely breaking the game or forcing a meta where this character is always viable since now there's only one tank.
Right.
That was old Mercy, bro. Every team had to have a Mercy back when she did that group res. Oh God,
Right, and they until they nerfed her to the ground.
to the ground. Another thing with that, the one thing that means the supports are gonna have to have a lot more focus on that tank in
Yeah.
particular. Since when he goes down, I feel that your whole team's gonna crumble if if that one tank goes down. Because
Yeah,
there you go, right. You're gonna have no one else to block block those bullets. No one else to take the damage.
Team composition is going to have to be like much more concerted effort on everybody, just trying to
yeah.
survive.
Right.
And another thing is that there's a lot of people, stopped playing the game, like just quit from the game when Sigma came out. Like it was just another wave of people just dropping the game. Wanna know why? Because of two shields, Orisa and Sigma. All the hit scan players could literally not play the game because of shields.
Oh,
All the
God.
amazing, great hit scan players could not play the game. And so they're like, I'm just shooting shields all day. Why am I playing this game? Even the tanks didn't like the shit because it was boring. There was nothing interactive about it.
That kind of always happens with Overwatch. A new character goes in, they get spammed to death, and then like another month or so, nobody wants to play them anymore.
Yeah,
It fixes itself.
Extremely annoying, right? Extremely annoying metas that make people not even want to try anymore.
yeah. Like at one point it was double shield with either Ryan Orisa or Orisa Sigma, and I know in gold those two tanks were spammed, and you put a Bastion with that bad boy and a BAP with Immortality Field where they just bunker down and they don't die. Who wants to play that? Like who wants to deal with that for like 5 minutes? Like that's just a waste of time. So they want to try to. That's why they're taking away a tank too, so that way they don't run into that issue.
Yeah, the double
And
shielding. Yeah.
yeah, and they just want to try to make metas kind of sort of more map dependent, not hero dependent and ability dependent. So that way you can actually use the geometry of the map. Like it was a map that had a hill in it, and it had like a really steep incline or something like that, and you could see where it was a clear difference when they moved the payload, and it was like a S curve where it was high ground to go to, but the defending team is on the high ground and the attacking team is on the payload on the low ground. You could see that the map design is designed for you to use natural cover,
Yeah.
which is cool. I'm all for that. But if you're gonna take away a tank too, and the DPS only have that increased mobility, I mean, it's kind of a win-loss type thing. So there's going to be a balancing act. I'm just interested to see how it's going to turn out.
Blizzard's gonna have a fun time with that.
Well, to wrap up the news Overwatch too, because that's the biggest one of the PvP changes. There's a bunch of little things. Well, I guess this is not little, but 3 new maps were shown: New York City, Toronto, and Rio. I really love the look. Oh, I'm sorry, in Rome. I forgot about that one. I really like the look of New York City. I really like that map looks.
Yes, the New York City map looked dope. Like the whole going into Grand Central Station and everything. Like for the last point,
And-
like the fire truck literally goes into the fire station.
And like the little
looks
shops and bakery and pizzeria shops and all that stuff.
Yeah, you can see the subway and stuff. It was. I liked it. Like that's one thing they definitely know how to take an area
And make it
really just
authentic.
play it up. Yeah, make it authentic, play it up, and just go crazy with it. And I've always enjoyed the maps, except for like 2, which are the 2 that are not played. Which I'm still wondering why they are still in the game's code, which is Horizon and Paris. But yeah, when they do maps, the maps look good. They just don't feel good to play.
Also, they showed off push mode a lot more, which essentially, instead of you moving the payload, you have a little robot that literally pushes the payload, and
Yeah.
but the from like what they shown in the little gameplay footage, that obviously the more teammates that's around the robot, the faster it pushes. But it becomes a situation where I think I kind of like that, because the meta before with the payload is you would put like a Bastion and a Rhine on it, and it's just protect the president as they're just like slowly pushing
Right.
ahead.
It's just slowly with a shield and fuck ton of damage.
Right, but now with push mode, it's more on you literally pushing forward and trying to push the enemy further and further away. While, since a robot can just basically push the payload by itself, and you're not worrying about protecting a certain person in your team, or it's more of a kind of like an all assault with everybody just being aggressive as possible to push the other team away. So there was that mode. How y'all feel about that?
It's still kind of like the hybrid or the assault mode, whichever mode is, whatever the name of the mode is, where you have to escort the payload from like beginning to end. But it's dual sided because those maps are mirrored, like it's symmetrical on both ends. The developer said they want to make sure that both sides are the same shape. You go the same curve, the same turns.
So
there might
fair.
be
different.
It's so that way it's clearly fair, but it's not. You still have to be like in overtime. If no one's on the car, on the payload by the robot, then the match is over. Just that's it. Whoever gets it the first, they are the winner. And if you're not on the payload or by the robot in this case, then you lose.
Right.
I think it's kind of cool.
I hate to be that guy that tries to always compare it to Paladins, because there's always going to be a ton of that. So I might as well get it out of the way now.
Look, Max, we get it. You're salty that they banned you, and you need that fix again.
I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about comparing it to Overwatch 2. I don't want to talk about that. Paladins had a mode similar to that. It's not exactly the same, but basically it was get the payload from one end of the map to the other. And the whole objective is constantly pushing that payload until you get to the other side. Of course, pushing away the other team, doing what you can to survive. And someone, of course, if you're not on the payload when the time runs out, that's game. If too many people, if the enemy team, another thing about that, if the enemy team starts taking over, like if they're really pushing you back, the payload starts moving backwards.
Right.
So you start losing process. So it's not the same as that by means, but it's a little bit similar.
Yeah, because with Paladins, it's all or nothing. Like you have to, if you don't get it to there, you don't get the point, essentially.
Exactly.
I think with push, I think with push, it's more on the distance. So if red team has a further distance than blue team, then red team wins rather than.
Oh no, same thing on Paladins. No, it's the same thing on Paladins. Whoever makes it further wins. Because as soon as say team A goes, you're pushing the payload, and you make it like 50% of the way. The next match is going to be team B is pushing the payload. As soon as they make it past 50%, that's the game. Like they don't even. As soon as you make it past that 50% part, the game is over. You win.
Isn't it whoever unlocks it first? Like whoever unlocks the payload first, and then whichever team unlocked it, then they get to take it. Because I know it's not. I know it doesn't switch. Because then that just sounds like assault mode on Overwatch, where whoever gets it the furthest, and when you defend, if you stop them at a certain spot, then that's where you have to take it. And if you get it to there, then you all win.
Well, it's more so not if you stop them. It goes against the timer. The timer is the biggest thing, because as soon as that timer runs out, wherever that payload is at, that's where you got to make it pass. Well, that's where the next team has to make it pass. So it goes. It's one after the other. Of course, it's not. You don't have to unlock the payload first. It's literally just one team starts, then the other team afterwards.
Gotcha.
And other big change was passive roles, or role passives, I should say. Reduce knockback for tanks, which makes sense. Tanks generate less ult for the team, so they generate less ultimate charge up and things like that for the teammates. Um,
Or
DPS
for
had
the enemy team. So if
yeah
a
enemy team.
tracer,
My bad.
yeah, if a tracer's like just farming a roadhog, she doesn't farm a roadhog anymore.
Right.
Right.
No alt battery no more.
She doesn't just get ult charge off of a roadhog because he's just standing there.
Right.
Like she has to put in some more work.
DPS has slightly more movement speed.
Nah, that's trash. I seen the Genji and Mercy comparison, and the Genji was like,
That's crazy.
and that was just regularly running, like it wasn't a dash or an ability.
Which
or
I mean,
anything.
it makes sense. They're
Yeah, it
much
does.
smaller characters usually.
Mm.
And I think this is a huge change. Support gets automatic health regen after a certain amount of time without taking damage.
Without taking damage, so they're all mercy.
I
Also, they get mercy
love
buffs.
that. I love that.
I love it too. And
I don't have to throw a grenade at my feet when I'm in trouble and I'm low anymore.
I don't gotta throw an orb at myself as Moira because, to be honest, sometimes I'm just trying to shoot it to my teammates and it slows down to heal me. And by the time it gets to them, they're already dead. They're already dead. So it's like, that's.
Doesn't matter. Okay.
And hey, these mechanics can work because, again, back on the comparing it to the Paladin strain. That's a path for everyone. That's a general mechanic in Paladins. Everyone in the game, after being out of combat for a certain amount of time, they start to regen pretty fast too. So
it's
it
kinda
can work.
Like you said, like I said, it's literally Mercy's passive currently, but they just put it on all the support.
Everybody, yeah.
And it's or if like when characters like Symmetra or Zenyatta who have their own shield health, and if after a certain amount of time when they're not taking damage, they get that amount of shield back, but not health. You know, that's kind of what that is too. They're also trying to combine all the over healths and shields and armors and stuff into one homogeneous green color, so that way you don't see like
Good.
white for health, yellow for regular armor, dark blue for character shield, and then you have over shield, over armor, and then like Lucio's little decaying over shield when that shows up, and you got like a kaleidoscope of colors on your health bar. They're just making it all one color.
Good.
You got more. You got more of it.
And speaking of that, I do like the UI changes.
Oh yeah,
It looks
too.
gorgeous.
Mm.
And
Looks
like I like how they condensing everything. It's pretty much just a bar in the upper left that you just have to focus on, essentially, when it comes to like teams and what's going on in the match. All right,
Like they straight up buff Zen with a UI change, because like when you Discord somebody in the live game now, the information of who you Discord is like on the right side of the screen. You don't really want to look over on the right side. You're just like, okay, I Discorded somebody. Whoever's in front of me,
right.
You're Discorded, or whoever you put a Harmony Orb on, you like. I threw it Genji. I don't even know where he is behind me, but it hits on him on the bottom of the screen too. It literally puts their picture on the bottom, like on both sides of your alt button.
Mm-hmm.
So the Discord is on one side and the Harmony Orb is on the other. So that way you know who you have Discord, who you have.
It's such a little change that makes such a monumental difference. Like
Yeah. All right, and
So I don't have to.
the last thing about Overwatch, which I find the most egregious, and Blizzard, they will be hearing from me. They will be hearing from my lawyers. They're going to get many angry letters. But yeah, May can no longer freeze enemies in place.
thank
It's
God.
it's a travesty, and
She's a travesty.
I'm going to take it completely personal. Blizzard, if you just want to say you didn't like me, just tell them to my face. Be a man about it, and don't nerf one of my favorite characters. But they'll hear from me.
Like, You should have been like, "Come on, Blizz. Why you gotta get rid of the
Come on,
Blizz?
baby.
Like,
Come on.
Why you gotta get rid of the Blizz,
what is
Blizzard?
it?
You
Like,
I
come
put the
on."
Blizzard out of Blizzard.
I thought we was ice cold, baby. I thought we were
However,
cool. I thought we was cool.
So does that mean her ult also just slows down too?
they
I
didn't
hope
say-
not. I hope her ult is still the same.
Freeze. I gotta say, I would think keep the freezing in place for her ult because that just would make
Yeah,
sense.
because making it slow down, that it make it kind of useless.
Yeah.
But-
I mean, because then everybody will walk out of it.
But
Literally everybody will
They
walk out of it.
to compensate
someone
for it,
with
it does
mobility,
have more
right.
damage for the actual attack. But
Yeah,
I still want to freeze people.
and don't forget about Winston actually shooting people now.
Yeah, he's gonna shoot lightning bolts at your ass.
from Spawn.
The monkey's got a gun.
Right, the monkey has a gun now, and like they talked about maybe potentially taking away McCree's flashbang.
Oh wow!
What?
Maybe they don't know. Like they gotta test it.
So people can't get wodared anymore.
They want to do something about the CC in the game. So he'll still be able to roll and fan the hammer's buck busted. So
But no, he's not gonna be a hard counter to high movement no more. Doomfist, I could have a field day with him now. Oh god, he's not gonna stand a chance. Little old McCree's gonna be crushed against the wall somewhere.
he's gonna be like, da, 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 ah. It's not even gonna matter.
All right, so
So we'll see Overwatch 2.
yeah, I'm excited. The meta's gonna be weird. So if you like how it is now, you better enjoy it while it lasts. You got a whole
Right.
year
Oh, yeah,
to
and-
get to it.
The whole player base is like, ew, 5. I can't play with my friends. We're gonna have to drop a friend from queuing together and shit. And it's like,
Yeah,
Such a chance.
yeah.
that must be awkward. Like everybody gets in the party, it's like, hey man, that's good. Yeah. I'm Steve. We got a friend Mike on Tank already, so
Yeah, you kind of
I mean you can sub in. I mean
you can
You
spectate.
want to spectate?
You
by
wanna
all means,
spectate?
You can always do that.
You can watch.
and Steve's gonna
And
be
if
like
one of us is disconnected, you know, you're next in line.
Steve's gonna be like, oh yeah man, no, that's cool. I guess I'll go play Paladins while I'll play Overwatch.
Bruh. And then watch Blizzard hit you with we're bringing in a new game mode, classic 6v6 mode.
They'll do something.
You know they're
They'll
gonna
do
do
something like that.
They're gonna
I
throw
feel
it in
like
arcade and just let it die there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
The classic.
So we want to talk about our early video game experiences and video games from our childhood. So it's gonna be a few questions. So the first one was, what was the first video game console you remember having, and how was that experience like? And I want to jump ahead on this one, which is why I wore this shirt.
Are you gonna be like
Game 64.
kid that video that went viral and he got the 64 for Christmas? He's like, and he's just like hugging it and shaking it. Were you that kid when you got your 64?
I can't remember. I remember this. Okay. This is what I remember specifically. I was either 4 or 5. I got the Nintendo 64 for Christmas, and I was at a cousin's house because we had Christmas outside of state, and I remember seeing Super Mario 64 and just being like completely enthralled. Like up until that point, I only had like those little Tiger electronic games, little LCD ones with little blips and bloops. So seeing Super Mario 64, it just blew my mind, man. That controller was real weird with my small baby hands. But I think the reason why like the Nintendo 64 was held in such high regard for me, and like I didn't even have a lot of games for it. Like the only games I had for Nintendo 64 was Super Mario 64, Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racer, and Mario Party 2. Those were the only 3 games I had for it. But Mario 64, it literally changed my brain, because as a 4 or 5-year-old, that game forces you to problem solve. So it's like you get this big open environment, this big open arena, and it's just like, all right, go ahead, figure it out, and like
Do it.
right. And it's like, for me as like a little child, it felt so cool being like, I don't know how to get to this person. I'm gonna spend like 30 minutes trying to get to this person, or trying to figure out how to get to him. And it was so gratifying, being able to beat the beat the bomb mob at the top of the hill, or finding the secret red rings in this stage. And like that explorability and that just openness like stuck to me so well as a little child. And I guess like, for me, just being curious about technology, curious about problem solving, stuff like that, it brought me into that world, and I just didn't want to get out. So yeah, that was my first console. What about you guys? What was your like first console, your first like gaming experience?
Me, N60 go. Oh, this is back in the best. Back in Cali, back when I was still in Cali. N64 was the earliest experience I had with gaming. Specifically speaking, is Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. I remember for the longest I used to mispronounce Ocarina. I used to call it Orcana. So it's a Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. I was a little kid. I wasn't looking for specifics. I said, "Oh, let's play Ocarina of Time, guys." But I never played it. Like, I didn't play it too much myself, because me as a kid, I was too scared to go outside of Kakariko Village. When you had to go to the Deku Tree, and fight those little things on a stick. I forgot what they're called. Those little things on a stick. You said what?
Skulltulas?
Not the Skulltulas. The things that pop out of the ground, and when you kill them, you get a Deku stick.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I don't know the name.
I was terrified of those things, and I didn't want to leave the first. I didn't want to leave the first town, so I didn't play. So most of my experiences with it was watching my dad play it. That's how I knew about the game. I wasn't playing through the whole game, but me myself, I never left the first town. That's the biggest experience I had with N64. A lot of my childhood wasn't on N64; it was on Sega Genesis. I have so much. Oh my god, I have so much experience with Sega Genesis. The Sonic game, Sonic 1, 2, and 3. Oh my goodness, I played that game. I played all 3 of those games way more than I care to admit.
Okay, can I put in a quick side story? I think I've told y'all the story before, but as I said, the 64 was my first console. My second console was the Sega Genesis. It's because little old me had did an exchange with my sister at the time, and my sister.
I know this. I think you told me this story before.
My sister hyped up the Sega Genesis so much to me, man, and she had so much games for it, and she's like, "Oh, and check out this guy named Sonic." And as soon as I saw Sonic 3, boy, it blew my mind. Like I was in, boy. And I happily traded my Nintendo 64 for a Sega Genesis.
Oh, she played you like a fucking fiddle. Oh and, my god.
Bruh, I love the Sega Genesis. Max, you look like you are going through the Matrix, boy. It's not. Your camera keeps like glitching.
Oh no! I touched it. It's the wire. It's the wire on the camera. I accidentally bumped it. Okay, we're good.
Oh, okay. We're good. Bro, but that's how I fell in love with Sonic, was that Genesis, boy. I went and played through Sonic 1, 2, and 3, and Knuckles, Toe Jam and Earl, Vector Man. Yeah. Oh my lord, I was enthralled. Comic Zone, yep.
Bruh, I had some obscure games for the Sega Genesis.
Didn't you have like any of those Disney games, like Aladdin?
I had Bugs Bunny. I had a Looney Tunes game, Bugs Bunny. It was some Bugs Bunny game that was hard as fuck for no reason.
Was it the Crazy Castle games?
I don't think so. Yeah. It was okay. The second level was the scene where it was the bull. It was that bull scene in Tom and Jerry. Bugs Bunny. when Bugs was out, Bugs was out playing the little bull
Oh,
and
like the
the
little matador.
matador little thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But there was a section of that level where you had to go underground, and it was basically a platformer puzzle type thing, where you had to find you had to go to certain parts, let out something. I can't. It's really foggy, but all I remember is that part was fucking impossible because I couldn't find what I was supposed to be looking for. I felt like I was just running through a maze, and it's time limited too. So after a certain amount of time, you just fail the level. So me as a kid never got past that part.
Hmm.
There was
Yeah.
also a game called Spider-Man and the X-Men. Uh,
Okay.
I've never heard of
only
that.
it was Spider-Man and the X-Men something. I can't remember. I see the names are escaping me, but all it is a series of levels. You were playing as Spider-Man, Gambit, Wolverine, Storm, and Cyclops. Those were all the characters you could pick through. Um,
It's
each of
fun.
them had their own levels that you had to complete. And let me tell you how that's the single most difficult game I've ever played in my life. That shit was impossible. Specifically Gambit's level. Whoever made that is crazy. They're insane. They're sucker for pain, and they brought that pain onto everyone else that bought that game. Because to this day, it's not one of those things where, oh, you're a kid, you're not as good at games as you thought you were. Because I played it in modern day not too long ago, and that shit was just as impossible. It was just as impossible. I don't know who would expect to be any of that. I remember myself, Caesar played a lot more than I did, and he never got past that shit either. Good luck. That game was so damn hard. Oh
Yeah,
my
that was the
god.
other thing wrong with like classic games. It's like, especially with like Genesis, like since we played it like way past the prime. I remember going to like GameStop and just going through the used games bin, and you didn't know what those games were, so you just bought them like, oh, this kind of looks cool.
Yeah.
You get home and you play it and you can't get past the first level because it's like literally impossible.
Yeah, man. Sega Genesis was not for the weak at all. Sega Genesis was not for the weak.
Speaking of Sega Genesis, that was my earliest, like as early as I can remember.
Oh god, we're all Sega stands.
Right. But I didn't own it. And when I say early, I mean like I was probably still a baby, like or maybe
God.
like 3 or 4 years old, maybe ish. And the game that I remember playing was Sonic 2
There
with
you
my
go.
mom. It was her Sega Genesis. And she taught me how to play Sonic. It was really cool.
That's dope.
And I didn't know what the hell I was doing. She gave me the controller to play as Tails. I didn't know that I
That's
wasn't exactly
adorable.
following behind her, and she was showing me how to
Adorable.
jump and how to
Oh,
spin
that's
dash.
precious.
And she it's her fault now that I'm a gamer, and I'm gonna forever blame her. And when I show her like stuff for Sonic and stuff, she's like, "Dang, they still make games for him." I'm like, "Yeah, he's still popular.
He's still trucking.
He's still
So,
trucking.
a lot of it's on
Yeah.
infamy.
So,
A lot of Sonic the games nowadays is his reputation's on infamy, not fucking notoriety, because those games are
right.
big stinkers.
And the thing is that I've only like physically played very few Sega Genesis games. Like I've played a lot of 2. I played 1, 2, and 3. And I don't think I ever owned Sonic 3. And I didn't even get to play Sonic and Knuckles until like years later. So, but I vividly remember being in the bedroom with my mom playing Sonic 2, and I was playing as Tails. And I think the furthest I remember getting scared and even crying when we got to Chemical Plant Zone because I heard that fucking music of me drowning, and I started to cry. And she was like, "What's wrong?" She's like, "No, you gotta get." And I just dropped the controller and I left the room. And Tails died.
Bruh.
You killed Tails. It's your problem why he drowned.
That's hilarious. That's actually hilarious.
But me, the console that I owned as a kid growing up for my childhood was the PlayStation 1. Originally without the
Ugh.
analogs.
Oh
So
God.
we're
Oh.
talking about 4 directional buttons, 4 back buttons, and 4 face buttons, and a start and select, and that's it. So games that I played to death were Tekken 2, Tekken 3. Oh my goodness. Like I still have those discs and they are scratched. Like the back of it, they're black. It's supposed to be black. They're gray.
He gets all the scratches.
I don't think they're playable anymore. um Crash 2 and 3. My earliest joy was beating Crash 2, that devil of a game. Um, Crash Team Racing. That game is definitely gray in the back. I played that game to death by myself. I've always wanted to play it with friends, but I didn't get that joy until the Reignited. I mean, not the Reignited, the Nitro Fuel came out, and that's a blast too. Um, as much of a JRPG machine that the PlayStation 1 was, I was unfortunate enough to not be able to play any of the Final Fantasies that were on there or Legends of Dragoon. I didn't get to play any of those until way later. Although there was a mom and pop shop that at the time I didn't know what it was, but until way later, that had a full copy of Final Fantasy 9 with all the discs and the book. And I think it came with like a collector's sticker or something in there too, for like $10.
Jeez.
And we never got it. I mean, I was like, "You sure? That look kind of sweet." And I was like, "Nah, I want Crash 3." He's like, "All right." And so I missed that train. I played a lot of Spyro 2 and 3. I didn't get to play 1 until I played it like on an emulator, like years later, and then I actually officially played 1 when the Reignited trilogy came out. But my Spyro 2 and 3, they're gray on the back now from all the scratches as well. NBA Live 01.
Oh, jeez.
And it Madden 01. I think Madden 99 as well. Or
Oh,
Madden
I had
2000.
Madden 96. I had Madden 96 on Genesis.
Ooh,
Oh,
the
gosh.
2D men's are fun.
Yeah.
Those games are
Mhm.
ridiculously fun.
Yeah, they're stupid fun, boy. They're
They
stupid
are
fun.
they have no business being that fun. Because there's like I think in Madden 2000 and Madden 2000 you could play, I think Madden 96 like as a mini game. Like you could play a whole match of football, and that's the only way I was able to play the old school Madden up through that. I played a lot of Soul Blade.
Oh, before Soul
And I really-
Calibur.
Yeah, that's back in the day.
Yeah, everybody
boy.
remembers Soul Calibur, but nobody remembers Soul
Oh,
Blade.
Blade.
That game is hard as balls. I I I didn't like it at first, but now I can appreciate it for what it did as far as sword combat is concerned. Because I also didn't have um, Battle Arena Toshinden, which was like a weapons-based combat game.
Yeah, that was like one of the first fighting games on PlayStation.
Yeah. So Soul Blade and like Tekken, Street Fighter Alpha 1 and 3, but I think I lost my 3. I don't know where the hell that went. Street Fighter Alpha 1, I played the hell out of that. It had gotten to the point where I was putting the computer on the hardest difficulty level, and then I would try to beat like M Bison, but it never happened. He literally the computer on the hardest difficulty letter is literally just eating quarters at that point. Like literally eating quarters. I had a game called Tiny Tank. Tiny
Tiny
Tank.
Tank. I
Okay.
know what you're talking about. I don't think I had it myself, but I played it before.
It's it was like it's a little yellow tank who curses and swears and he makes modern day jokes and stuff. And he and he just blows shit up. It was a really fun game for the time. Like you just run around and just shoot other robots, and the levels were pretty big. Um, I'm trying to remember without looking into the box. That is literally right beside me.
Well,
um,
let me go into the next question then. Uh,
okay.
what is your most favorite game or game series as a child?
Oh boy, there's too many. There's too many. Too many.
Oh, I
But
know
I
off the
got
top
it.
of my head.
I can say with clear confidence that back like growing up, back in like high school, like even high school days, Halo, without a doubt, in the golden age, that whole golden age of online gaming. The first online game I've ever played was Halo 3. That was the first experience I've ever had with online gaming, and ever since that happened, I never went back. There were so many memories with Halo 3, so many game nights with friends, so much just wrecking shit online. You go to custom games. You had those staple game modes like Duck Hunt, uh, Fat Kid, uh, just so much fun to be had in Halo 3, and I don't think there will ever be a game. I don't think there'll be an online game that's like they'll have as much influence as Halo 3 did. I don't think that'll ever happen again. There'll be great games all day, but Halo 3 was different. And anyone that played Halo 3 in that era would agree with me.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. My first experience was Halo 3 2, but I got hooked way more on Reach, and it was like an everyday addiction, man. Like you would come home from school and immediately hop on Reach for a couple of hours, hop on Gears 3 for a couple of hours,
Oh yeah,
and like
Gears 3 had a
even if you got wrecked, it was so much fun.
it was so much God, it was so much fun, especially if you had friends. Like hey, when I was playing Gears 3, Gears of War was another series that's just on the top of the list for me. I used to have a whole squad, like full. I'm talking about like over like 15 people that we would interchange and we just play Gears of War. Of course, I had a couple. It was a couple people from high school that we were consistent with. That we always play every freaking night. We would just hop on Gears of War 3, wreck house. Sometimes when we got the whole crew together, it was a full lobby, like 5v5, just straight Nashers, because that's the only way you can play that game.
Yep, that was the meta.
Straight Nashers only, and we were fiends. We were fiends at the game. I'm talking about nobody wanted to fuck with us. Uh, it was insane. The damage we used to do, bruh. It was absolutely insane. That I had so much fun with that game.
Um, See, I didn't get into online gaming until I got my PS3. And then even at that point, I was still kind of skeptical on like competing because I was just like, I'm not good at this. But I mean, the game I played the most online with my friend Mike, we played a lot of Battlefield 3. Like when I say a lot, I mean like we would start at like 5 in the afternoon, and then we wouldn't stop playing until like 4 in the morning.
God,
It would
that's
be
a
me,
lot
him,
of
his brother.
Battlefield.
It was a lot of Battlefield, boy. It was a lot of Battlefield, especially during the summer. But the game that personally I spent a lot of time on growing up was probably the Dynasty Warriors series.
Oh,
Like that game, and I know it's a weird choice, but I'm thinking about the sheer amount of time. It's between that and Final Fantasy 10 and 12. Like, because those were really grindy games, and I didn't have like a lot of multiplayer games, nor did I have like a lot of controllers to like play multiplayer games with. I have friends to play them, I just didn't have the equipment. um, I spent a lot of time in those games, especially Dynasty Warriors, because the game can get really, really grindy, especially the early games
well,
where
that's how you got your
you start.
content.
Yeah, your character is like they do 4 swings and that's it. and you're still fighting like you got to kill hundreds and hundreds of people over and over again. But the more time you spend with the character, they learn more moves, you get better equipment, different items. You know, there's a secret weapon for every single character in like especially in the early games. I think 2 or 3. Yeah, Dynasty Warriors 3 had special weapons for each character, and there's like 60 characters in the game, and the secret weapons
Christ.
were yeah. I didn't find them all. I wasn't that insane, but because some of the criteria to do some of the stuff was like defeat this person in this amount of time. Wait for this to happen, and if this happens, kill this person in this amount of time before this event happens. It was very specific, and if you messed up any part of the steps to do it, then you had to do the entire level over. And the levels would take about 30 minutes to almost an hour to complete sometimes, depending on how leveled up your character was, because the game gets really, really spongy. They kind of fixed that in the newer games, but hey, I liked the game a lot, so I never had experienced anything other game or action game like that where you just kill hundreds upon thousands of enemies on a screen. Like it was just fascinating to me that you could do that.
Right.
And my JRPG fix for Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy 12, especially 12, because that was kind of like my fake MMO RPG, because that game almost feels like an MMO in certain aspects. And also the world and the world building and the characters and stories and all the grinding that you have to do for the game. I'm pretty sure I still have my same exact save file on the memory card that's in this box that has about 250 hours on
Holy crap.
Final Fantasy 12 on my original save.
That's some commitment, boy.
And the boss fights, some of the late game like super bosses will like literally, if you fight it correctly, take an hour or more to beat.
Jesus.
Like literally sitting in front of the TV for an hour fighting one thing.
You gotta have a different type of patience for that, man. Those old JRPGs, boy.
And you die, and you have to do the entire thing over. It was soul crushing. I still don't think I ever beat the last thing. And then when they re-released the game again, the Final Fantasy 12 Zodiac Age, they added shit, and they added more super bosses. And I'm never going to touch those because I'm not stupid. So those are kind of the series and games that kind of stuck with me, and I played V-Def out of.
Right. Dynasty. I'd never played. Crazy part is the only Dynasty Warrior games I played were the spin-offs. The first Dynasty Warrior game I ever played was Dynasty Warriors Gundam. I played a lot of that. Me and my older brother Trey, we used to play that all the freaking time. And I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. I just knew there's a lot of enemies. Mash square and kill them all. Mash square and kill them all. That's what I knew. I had a ton of brainless fun on it. But a lot of my early gaming experiences, the ones that weren't like on those older consoles like N64 Genesis, when we got to like the Xbox 360 age, that's where that competitive bug just latched onto me and never let go. It's in the Gene Bryce blood, because my brothers have it too. Caesar has it worse. Caesar has it even worse than I did, but it was Halo that did it. I blame Halo. I completely blame Halo for it, because all three of us used to be on their fucking team. All three of us were just savages on the game, because that was back in the day where split screen online multiplayer was a thing.
Yeah.
You could have Halo 3. You could have four people. You could have four people playing on the same Xbox online.
Yeah.
You could have your own team doing work online. They didn't stand a chance. They shouldn't have done that. That was the gold. Why I always say that era of gaming right then was the golden age of online gaming. We never gonna have anything like that close to that again. Even Gears of War, you could split. It was only two-player split
Yeah.
screen, but you could two-player split screen that bad boy online.
Yeah,
Yes, you could.
I think Modern Warfare did that too.
Yeah, Modern Warfare 2. Oh, yes. Modern Warfare 2. I had a lot of experiences with that too. Modern Warfare 2 by all of you. That in Black Ops 1.
Your light died.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you're dark again.
He's back
That's
into the abyss.
Your next nerd. Right.
Oh my god, it's
Yeah,
even
great
worse
stuff.
now.
Oh no. I've changed colors. Oh no, it won't even turn back on.
Oh, you
That's
need to
how
charge
you
it.
know.
Yeah, that joke stupid dead.
Died, right.
That is
But
true.
yeah, that I think ever since I got that competitive bug, I never like a lot of my patience for slower paced games kind of died off. I used to play a ton of Pokemon on Nintendo Game Boy when I finally got my SP. I
Oh,
still
yeah.
have it sitting around here somewhere. But I played a ton of Pokemon Ruby. That game was my addiction. That game was my crack for a good amount of time.
Man,
I played a ton of Ruby. And then after that, when the DS came out and I got a DS, I played Pokemon Pearl, and I had an addiction with that
bro,
as well. But
I
that
had
was,
Diamond.
That was
Bro, I had Diamond. I had like 300 hours in Diamond. I played that game so much.
so, bruh. I don't even know how many. I don't even know how much I played. I played every aspect of that game too. But as far as Battle Tower, that online mode where you had to go underground and mine that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played a ton of that too. You could make your own base. You had to unlock all this furniture like you're playing Animal Crossing or something.
You can find fossils and stones down there too.
Right.
All of this was in Diamond and Pearl.
Yeah.
Yes, Diamond Pearl Platinum. Yes.
Pokemon was a video game, a content.
Bro, I had so much fun with those games, but that was the last Pokemon game I played. I don't know. Ever since Pearl, I never had the urge to get back into Pokemon. And a lot of RPGs, I just haven't had the patience to play them. I'll watch them all day. Like a lot of my memories with gaming too is just watching my dad play video games too. Like Legend of Zelda. He played games like Legend of Zelda. He played a little bit of Final Fantasy. He played a lot of God of War. I had a lot of my experiences with just watching him play video games as well. That's why YouTube at this day and age is like my main source of entertainment. As for when it comes to just casually watching stuff, I watch a lot of playthroughs, and it's just enjoyable to me because that's a lot of my childhood.
For me, this is probably not going to be a surprise to you all, but my favorite franchise growing up was Sonic. Even to the point where I don't know, it's like I made it my mission as a child to play every single Sonic game. Like if it existed with Sonic, I had to play it. And like my most favorite game at that time was Sonic Adventure 2 Battle on Nintendo GameCube. And oh my god, I played that game so much. The chows.
So did I.
I had my group of friends.
I got my original save file too, and that Chow Garden hours are unreal.
Ridiculous, man. I had a group of friends that we always played the multiplayer mode. Oh my god, it was like crack, and it was like I even played through the bad ones. Shadow the Hedgehog at the time, I loved it. I love Shadow the Hedgehog. I went back, played all the Game Gear games, the weird spin-offs. I love the Sonic Advance. Yes, I beat it.
Oh, Sonic Advance. Oh, boy, Sonic Advance I had a lot of memories with that.
I beat it. It was on either Sonic Mega Collection Plus or it was either on Sonic Mega Collection Plus or Sonic Gems. One of those. I beat it on there. It was not fun, but I beat it.
They didn't put any bad Sonic games on the Sonic Mega Collection.
Oh my god! I remember we had a family computer. It was a Gateway 1998, Windows 1998.
Oh, that's the one with cow.
Yeah. And there's two. Like my mom was very big on educational stuff, so I played like a lot of educational games on there. But there was two games I remember, two packages I remember. Lego Island, which eventually started. Something happened where that game glitched on my computer, and so literally every time you turned the family computer on, you saw like the little Lego man, like saying you have to put the disc in order to use the program, and then it would go to the login screen. I don't know how I messed that up as a child, but outside of that, my parents had got me the Sonic the Hedgehog 4-pack, and it was Sonic 3 and Knuckles on PC. It was Sonic R on PC. What's the other? Sega Smash Pack, which was like a collection of Genesis games, with Sonic 2 on there, I think, as well as Shining Force, which was my first introduction to Shining Force, and it was another game on there. Oh, Sonic CD, Sonic CD, and boy, the amount of hours I spent just on the computer just with those games, like inside and out. I played Sonic R so much that I got to the point where I could speed run the game, get all the Chaos Emeralds, and like all the characters in one run.
Sonic R.
Like I would beat that game in like less than 20 minutes. Yeah, Sonic
That's
R.
crazy. Sonic R, golly. You're crazy. I've never played that game in my life.
Oh, it's bad.
Neither.
It's terrible. But that music is amazing. And mind you,
yeah, I know plenty about the music.
I played this like in the early 2000s, so it was like 3D was still kind of fresh with Sonic, and it was just like
It was real fresh with Sonic.
Sonic R is a racing game, but the way they built it is kind of like a big hub world area with like it's a suggested path, but there's a bunch of like extra areas where you can go off to and like split places. So I would start the race and just explore. Just look around, see the geography, see where I can go with certain characters, see all the secrets.
See where you could clip through the geometry so that way you can save 15 seconds on your speed run on the lap.
Bro, it is like, for whatever reason, the characters in the game, they worked like cars. So like, I remember specifically, like you had to hold the space bar. It's either hold the space bar or hold something for them to accelerate. So they didn't just move on their own, like it was on car rules. So you had to accelerate and brake.
They're on car rules, but they were running.
Yes.
But they were still running, right?
Yes.
Oh my god.
That's
boy.
dumb.
Yeah, the amount of Sonic I played as a child is absolutely ridiculous. And you know, you guys know, every once in a while, like every few years or so, I'm like, all right, let me just play through
Sonic
the entirety of Sonic Adventure 1 again, or Sonic Adventure 2, and it's like,
No, you do that shit like once a year.
Yeah, it happens.
As long as I've known you, and ever since we've been out of college, you'd be like, you know what? I'm gonna play through Sonic Adventure 1.
Even when we were in college, I remember one time you randomly just booted up Sonic Adventure 2.
Right, and just started playing straight through the hero mode and beat it in like 20 minutes to an hour almost.
I play the game so much, I just know everything. Like, I know where to go, I know how to get there, I know the quickest and efficient way.
I was like, good lord.
Bruh.
Yeah, Sonic was a complete addiction, and it started with that
Sonic-
Genesis.
It did, bro. Sonic 1, 2, and 3. Those were easily the Sonic games I played the most. I played a lot of Sonic Battle on the Game Boy.
Yes.
I played a lot. Yes, I played a ton of Sonic Battle. I played Sonic 3. No, so Sonic 3D Blast. I was like, this shit is garbage. I said that when I was a kid too, so that's how you know it's garbage.
But I almost beat it.
I beat
I
it.
played a game I played a surprising a lot. Sonic Spinball.
Oh my god, I hate Sonic Spinball. Even
Yeah,
I have,
Spinball.
even I
almost
haven't
beat
beaten
that
that
too.
one. Even I haven't beaten that one. That one's awful.
I got to
Um,
Eggman. It was like the last stage where Eggman is, and I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. So I was like, all right, I guess I'm done.
And another one.
Robotnik's mean beam machine. I tell you that.
Yeah, that's another mean beaver. That game was surprisingly
terrible.
good.
I'm terrible at
That game-
because it's Puyo Puyo, and I'm just terrible at Puyo Puyo. So I was awful at that game.
And if you lose once, you go back to square one. So it's just like,
Right.
all right, too bad. There's nothing you can do about it.
Something just like shot into my brain. Another franchise that I had a lot of memories with, Bomberman. Oh my god, I almost forgot about Bomberman. Specifically, Mega Bomberman on the Sega Genesis. Oh my god. That game, I think to this day that's the best Bomberman game that I played. And I played a good amount of them. I played Bomberman 64,
Did
Mega
you
Bomberman
play
on
the edgy
Genesis.
one on 360?
Let's not talk about that. What was that? Like Bomberman X Zero?
Yeah.
Some shit like that. Bomberman X. Oh god, that's like a nightmare. That's not real. Sometimes that pop into my brain like, no, go get out of my head. But no, that game doesn't exist. Bomberman Generations on GameCube. That was another one I played. That's another one I played a lot. But I'd say that my biggest memories of Bomberman was easily Mega Bomberman on the Sega Genesis. That game had a lot of content. Surprisingly, a lot of content. It had a full story mode that was actually pretty difficult. And didn't have a save feature either. It had a password
Oh,
system.
come on.
But it didn't. Yeah, it's password. You love it. So if you didn't write that shit down, you're starting from the top every time. You're starting from the top. And I remember there's one memory in my head. My brother was pretty far in the game, but he paused it because he had to go out. He went out somewhere with her mom. And I was like, ooh, I wonder what he's doing. I unpaused the game, playing it, and I died. He had no more continue, so I went back to the beginning. So I was like, oh. So I didn't know what to do. I panicked. So as soon as I died, it was on the password screen. I put the controller down and left. It's still on the password screen.
Oh no.
Oh my god. That's a vivid memory. It's a vivid memory in my noggin.
We need to wrap up, but that did remind me of one like really quick story. So as I said, Nintendo 64 was my first console. My second console was the Sega Genesis because my sister. But the third one was the Sega Dreamcast. So after I was hooked to a Sonic, I told my parents like I have to get the Dreamcast. I got to play Sonic Adventure. Like I was also one of those kids that I don't know if y'all remember like back in the old internet days when they had like fan sites, and like I would constantly be on Sonic fan sites and just looking up like footage of Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 and just be like amazed and wanted to play them. And so I begged my parents for a Dreamcast, and they had got me it. But I was used to the Nintendo 64 being cartridges. So your data just saves on the cartridge. Getting a Dreamcast, I didn't understand the concept, nor did my parents understand the concept of a memory card. So I remember playing Sonic Adventure, getting quite far into it, and it's like, all right, turn it off. And then came back and it wasn't there. And I was like, oh, I guess it's like Sonic 1. There's no save, so I guess I got to play through the whole game in one save.
Oh my god.
That's what I thought as a kid.
The whole game.
But the other games I had, Blue Stinger, that was another one I had as a kid, which I shouldn't have been playing that as a child. But it dawned into me where it's like, you got to put the VMU in. I was like, what the hell is a VMU? What is that? And then like I'm reading through the instruction book and I'm like, you can save your game? What? The concept of a memory card was just like, but how do I get this thing?
You know, I had my dumbass when I was younger, because I only did this once and I never did it again because I read the shit wrong. I was playing, luckily, and this was the only game on the memory card because I had just got the PlayStation. I had Twisted Metal 4, which that disc does not work. Like I played that game to the ground, but I played it and I beat one character's story or whatever. I was like, oh, cool. When it said the save prompt came up and was saying, do not remove the memory card while it's saving, because the memory card was definitely in the system, but my dumbass thought it said remove it to save the game. And I got up and I pulled it out.
Yanked that. Oh, he corrupted
And I
him.
was like, oh, I guess the game's saved. So then I turned it off, went about my business for the rest of the day, came back to it the next day. Ain't nothing there.
You look at the whole card and get corrupted.
My dad was like, you a dumbass. Keep the memory
Bruh.
card in there and don't take it out.
I had an experience similar to that. It wasn't quite as well. It was dumb. I remember I was playing. It was one of the. You guys remember the Mario and Luigi games?
Yeah, the RPG
Uh,
ones.
Yeah, the RPG. Those ones were really fun. It was Mario and Luigi. It was the one on the game. It was the one on the Game Boy.
Superstar.
Superstar Saga. That's right, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. That game was really fun. It was kind of hard too. I remember there was one point I was like, okay, I gotta go back. I was like, okay, before I hit the next save point, I gotta go back and do this because I think after I do this, I can't do that anymore. So I was kept going, but I hit the next save point before I wanted to. I was like, shit. So while it was saving, it says, please do not turn off the console. So I was like, if I turn it off, it's not going to save it. It's going to just revert me back to the old save. So I turned it off in the middle of saving, turned that bad boy back on, and guess what?
It was
New game was only
New game.
New game.
No save files whatsoever.
Jeez.
So I was like, no.
You try to do a big brain play and it backfired.
It backfires on you. So I had to start the game from the top.
The tippy top.
No, I was kind of far. So, and that game is not easy too, especially for a kid brain.
That game's kind of long too.
It's dummy long and it's dummy hard. So, yeah, I was pissed. Oh god!
Try to outsmart the game, and the game outsmarted you.
Right? Don't try to big brain. Don't try to big brain things you don't understand.
All right, so let's wrap up. We're an hour and a half in. Any final thoughts? Anything that's burning a hole in your mind?
Man, there's so many more gamer stories I have of like early game experience.
Probably do a part 2 to this or something.
To be honest, I have plenty more stories, so we definitely could.
I guess see you later.
Keep gaming, folks. Don't forget.
That's
cringy.
Don't forget, games get girls.
That is not true.
I'm not advocating anything that this man said.
Oh my god. The gamers are the upper echelon of humanity, bro.
No, we're not.
When civilization starts to crumble, it'll be the gamers that rise up to lead us into the next golden age.
So is that the final message? Gamers rise up.
Oh, God.
Yes. This changed the world. My final message. Goodbye.
All right, y'all. It's been another episode of the Cell Test Podcast. Thank you for rocking with us. We'll see you in the next one.
Peace.
I'm still dark, like really, really dark.